Hello, I am Lidita Samaniakou, human rights activist, and this is Your Voice Show. Today's guest is Irene Branche. In a world that Irene could be anything, she has decided to dedicate her career so far to working for organizations whose mission is to help people who need help the most in our society. Currently, Irene is the Chief Development and Evaluation Officer at the Hope Program. You are a very successful woman today, but let us go back in time and begin with where it all began for you in your childhood. What was it like for you growing up?
Sure. So I grew up in New England in between Massachusetts and Maine, and I was raised mostly throughout my life by a single mom who I'm very close to today, but who throughout her life struggled with unemployment, addiction, kind of some of the same challenges that I see in our communities, and some of the same things that have brought me to working with the Hope program. Throughout my upbringing, I was really so fortunate to have mentors and after school programs and a really strong support network that help me to build my skills and leverage my talents and really thrive. And I think that those types of supports are so important. And the research shows that when those things aren't available, children are less likely to thrive in their adulthood when they grow up in challenging circumstances. So I feel really proud to have come from where I come from, and also really appreciate the opportunity to continue to give back to others.
So you would say that the way you grew up, the challenges, but the help you got has influenced you to choose the career field you have chosen today?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit more about, I mean, currently you work for the Hope program, but tell us a little bit about your career before you got to the Hope program.
Sure. So I grew up in the state of Maine, and lots of people speak French, and I really loved learning language. I love language and communications. I think it's so important. And as we look at what's happening across the United States right now, if people were choosing their language a little bit differently and thinking a little bit more consciously about how we communicate, we might not be quite in the mess that we are facing this week. So I went to college, and I was going to be a French teacher. My first year out of college, I was a French teacher and realized that teachers are saints, and that I did not have the personality to really thrive in that space. It requires a level of patience and calm that I don't have. And so hats off to all of the teachers, particularly people who are doing this remotely right now. That's a hard job. And I discovered pretty quickly that it wasn't the one for me. But I loved education. I really, going back to my childhood, really recognized that those supports that I received when I was young and being in good schools and things like that really helped me to overcome the challenges that I faced. And so I really stayed true to an education background. And I worked for an organization called Read Alliance, still a thriving, strong organization. They're actually celebrating their online gala tonight. And what Read Alliance does is trains teenagers to teach younger children in low-income schools a very basic phonics-based reading curriculum, so that the kids who just aren't making it, just are not, those neurons and aren't clicking in terms of learning how to read at a very early age, they can build those early skills, which can be really foundational for the future of their academic careers. Yeah. But what I really grew to love about Read Alliance over time was that I saw just how powerful that job is. So those teenagers, when they had those summer jobs, learned skills that they would carry with them for a lifetime, and were so proud of the direct impact they could have on a young child in their community. Often these teenagers were coming from the same communities as the children that they were serving. And so to see them earn a paycheck, be part of something positive, and see firsthand how what they're doing can change the life of a small child, really moved me. And I really started to believe even more in the power of a meaningful job. And, going back to my mom throughout her life has struggled with periods of unemployment associated with some of the other barriers that she has experienced. But throughout it all, the thing that has made her the most proud is holding a job, having a place to be, having that accountability, having a sense of purpose. And so throughout kind of all of those experiences, I really realized just how important a job is. And so I came to the Hope program so that I could help folks get those jobs.
And I read about your achievement at this organization, and you are incredible at what you do. But you you just don't fulfill the expectations, but you surpass by like 300% or something. That is incredible, and it speaks about that power that we have when we do something that we're passionate about, that we absolutely love. So I'm sure for you, when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel like you're going to work. You feel like you're doing something that you love to do and you love getting up for. So tell us a little bit about this amazing organization. How was this founded, and who founded it?
Yeah, so Hope was founded in 1984 by a woman named Deborah McFarlane, who's still in our orbit a little bit. Mm-hmm. And she was a PhD student at Columbia University and was also serving as a volunteer at the local soup kitchen. And sort of over time, she said to herself, well, I'm studying education at the doctoral level, and I'm seeing all these folks every single day who are coming back day in and day out for the food pantry. She said, I got to be able to put these things together to be able to make a difference. And so she launched the Hope program. And the story is that in the first cohort of folks that she trained for jobs, she helped them, she spent a couple of weeks helping them to clean up their looks and get a great interview suit, writing a really great resume, putting it all together. And 8 folks in that first training class, they all got jobs. But soon thereafter, they all lost their jobs. And she said, why? Oh, aha, because it's messy. This is harder than, keeping a job, getting a job is real hard. Keeping a job is even harder. And if you're not managing sort of the mental health and the substance abuse and if you're not learning the coping mechanisms to manage, we all have these messy lives. And if you don't have those coping skills, that comes into the workplace and you're not prepared to thrive there. And so what Deborah did way back in the 80s was use that learning to develop a really comprehensive model. And she actually also wrote her doctoral thesis on the founding of the Hope program. So as she went along, she was very intentional about measuring the impact and using data to show the impact of the program. So Hope was actually one of the first nonprofits that really started to look at a data-driven impact. And that's something that we carry with us today. And so today we're a very comprehensive program. So our mission is that we want people to get jobs and to build sustainable careers. But we know, like I said, that requires more than just some shiny interview shoes and a resume. And so today we offer mental health services and access. We help you open a bank account. 60% of the people who walk through our doors don't have access to bank accounts, which means in the course of their lifetimes, they could spend $40,000 on things like check cashing fees, avoidable costs that add up hugely over the course of a lifetime. So we're connecting folks with bank accounts so they can put those paychecks to better use. We have a real focus on digital literacy. So every job right now, every job is a tech job, right? You can't access any job opportunities. You can't apply. You can't even interview for a job anymore given COVID without access to technology. And there are some real digital deserts in this city. It's hard to believe that people living in New York City in 2020 might not have internet, but that's the truth. And so we've been working really hard to give laptops to New Yorkers and give them Wi-Fi hotspots so that they can access all the same kinds of resources that many of us are able to access.
I heard that there is also maybe this is a better question. So walk us through the process. How do people find your organization? Where do they find you normally? People who need this help that you offer.
Yeah, so we work with a lot of partners, folks in probation and parole, soup kitchens, homeless shelters, a lot of substance abuse treatment facilities. We have a lot of partnerships in the community with organizations that are providing services that complement ours, but that are not job training. So if you have somebody who's coming into your homeless shelter on a regular basis, or if you're helping somebody recover from substance abuse and they're ready to move on to the next phase of their lives, you might send them to the HOPE program.
So walk us through the process. The person contacts you. They walk in or they call you. How does that happen normally?
It can be either way.
It can be both.
Yeah.
And then when they contact you, how do you assess the person, and how do you what programs you offer them, and how do you kind of where does it go from there, from the moment that they walk into the door?
Sure. So we offer 2 information sessions every single week. So that means anytime that you're ready to learn about this program, you can you can come to the HOPE program and learn about it. We also are doing those information sessions remotely, so all online twice a week. The idea is we want to capture people when they make that decision, when they say, I'm ready to make a change, I'm ready to do something different. We don't want folks to have to wait for that opportunity. We want to provide that opportunity kind of while people are feeling motivated and energized. So you go through an information session, you learn about the program, what the expectations are, what the goals are. And after you finish that process, we do an application. It used to be a handwritten application, but we've moved all of that online now. But if folks don't have the digital literacy skills to be able to complete an online form, which lots of the individuals will certainly don't have those skills necessarily, we'll walk you through it. We'll do it on the phone with you and support you with that. So there's an online application, an interview, and then we connect you with one of our programs. HOPE has about 30 training classes starting on a rotating basis throughout the year. So there's almost always a program coming up right around the corner that somebody can plug into. Again, not wanting people to have to wait, 6 months to be able to get into a training to build their careers, but wanting people to really strike while the iron is hot. So.
How long are your programs, and how do you prepare them for job interviews? Do you find them a job? How does that go after they successfully finish the program?
Yeah, so we have 4 different programs, and they're all different lengths. Our core program is called HopeWorks, and that's where you're learning how to be a great interviewer, how to write a great resume, basic digital literacy skills, how to communicate with your boss, what to do when when your boss or your coworker is not as nice as we want them to be, how to think about career advancement, all of what could be called either soft skills or essential skills. So that's about a 6-week soft skills training that folks go through. And coming out of the program, you're really ready for diverse careers. So you could be security, animal care, maintenance. It really just lays the groundwork and builds the foundation for you to enter the careers of your choice. We have 3 other programs that are focused on green construction and maintenance. So really trying to help the world become more environmentally sustainable at the same time that people are getting jobs. One of them is called Sustainable South Bronx. That's a 12-week program. The first 6 weeks are the same soft skills, essential skills, because no matter what career you're going into,
you're gonna need them.
You need them. That's what employers tell us all the time. We say, can we get them this certification, or can we train them on this cash register, or can we do this? And employers really say, we want somebody who can be on time, who can work well with others, who can smile. All of these kind of soft skills that we really need to be able to bring to the work. So Sustainable South Bronx builds those skills first, and then transitions into green construction and maintenance skills like energy auditing and energy efficiency retrofits, like horticulture, landscaping, a kind of a range of green construction and maintenance careers. So that's a 12-week program. Folks coming out of that get about 8 industry recognized certifications, as well as all of the kind of support that we provide. We have 2 other programs where people are actually paid to go through the training. We wish And someday, well, this will happen, that we would have all the resources in the world to be able to pay everybody who comes to our programs. But we currently do have 2 programs that are paid green construction and maintenance programs. One where folks are up on rooftops, coating them white to improve the energy efficiency of the building, and another where we're doing a lot of solar panels and horticulture out in the community. So across those are, so yeah, so our programs range from 6 to 12 weeks. But then our relationship with the folks that we serve sort of never ends. We tell everybody who walks through our doors and everybody who walks through our virtual doors, we say, when you're hope for life. And we mean it. So when the pandemic struck, we were reaching out to people who graduated a decade ago to see, is your job at risk? Did you lose your job? How can we help you? What supports can we provide? The same way that we're serving folks who just walked through our doors. So we really mean that hope for life promise to everybody that we're serving. So after you graduate through one of our programs, we're going to help you find a job. We're not going to do a direct placement, but we're going to really help you find that job and leverage our employer networks to get you into a job. And then for the first year of the job, we're going to offer you incentives to come back and tell us how it's going. Sort of a sneaky way to make sure that we're maintaining our relationship with our graduates and also providing support where they need support in that critical first year of employment. And then after that first year of employment, we're just here for you. So if you get Employee of the Month and want to tell your Hope family and show off your certificate, we're here. If you lose your job and need help finding the next job for you, we're here. If you are facing housing insecurity, we're here. No matter what happens throughout the life of your career, we're here for you.
Amazing. Wow. What is the impact the organization has had so far? How many people would you say it has helped throughout the years?
Yeah, so we wish that our data went back that far. We've switched databases over time, and we don't quite have the data going all the way back to the 80s, but we think we've served about 10,000 to 12,000 New Yorkers over time, and we've certainly grown recently, so that impact is only going to get stronger as we go along. The way we really measure success is how many folks are getting jobs. For us, that's about 80% of people who graduate from our programs get jobs. And then what we really care about is how many are working a year later. And I told you before that when Deborah first got all those folks jobs, they all got their jobs and then they all lost them. And so we think not only is that job placement, but job retention, how sticky are you to the workforce really matters to us. So about a year later, 80% of our folks are still working. And that's one of the strongest measures for programs like this nationally. So we're really proud.
If people that are watching this show would like to help, whether through volunteering or donating, where can they find the organization?
Sure, we're at www.thehopeprogram.org. There are lots of ways to get involved. We do mock interviews with corporate groups, which is a really great team building exercise for the corporate team. We accept clothing donations for people who need to look great on their next job interview or build a wardrobe to get back to work. We accept donations online. We look for folks to help us with resumes. We have really a broad range of ways that folks can support. And so, yeah, our website is thehopeprogram.org, and my email is ibranche, my last name, @thehopeprogram.org. So if folks have questions, they can reach out to me directly.
Sure, and this will be attached to the video, so you can find the information and reach out to Irene and find out how you too can do your part to make this world a better place. Irene, we have many problems in our city, right? Many problems. So my question to you is that relates to a little bit from the mentality that I hear from, especially from people who come from other countries, where they say, how come people that are born in America, where you have so many opportunities, don't succeed? And we have to be honest. These people think that the people who don't succeed in America, who are Americans, who have all these opportunities, yada yada, who speak English well, they are lazy and they don't want to work. What is your response to them?
Well, that's crazy. No, you do hear that a lot. And my firsthand experience from my own family and from working at Hope and from being part of a community of folks who provide this type of programming, I know that that's not true. I think often there is a lot of opportunity in this country, but it's not equally distributed. So for folks who are growing up in communities that don't have great schools, or where there haven't been employment opportunities, so they don't have role models who have been employed in a meaningful way, or they don't have networks to help them access the workforce. These are critical things. In fact, was it Harvard Business School estimates that 80% of jobs are found through networking. But what if you don't have a professional network? How do you overcome that if so many jobs are found through networking? So I think we need to spin that narrative on its head. I think, rather than judging the people who are not succeeding in the system, I think it's time to start to look at the system itself and ask questions about whether or not our systems are serving our communities in the way that they need. I think there's also huge disparities in how Black and brown folks in this country are way over incarcerated. And then even after they serve their sentences, those punishments last a lifetime. It's harder to find a job, vastly more difficult to find a job. You can't live in public housing in many cases. There are lots of consequences of that that very much disproportionately impact our Black and brown neighbors, and not necessarily because there's more crime in those communities. And so I think, again, that's a structure. It's a structural issue that we need to look at in this country, and which I think we are starting to over the summer. Everybody's aware of all that's been happening in terms of our sort of America's racial awakening, so we're starting to have those conversations. A little late, but.
Why do you think we still have a racial issue in this country? What will it take for us to end racism, if there is such thing, which we hope there will be?
Yeah, I'm not a historian, or a sociologist, so I can't.
From your point of view, what do you think it's called? Why is it?
I think it's systemic. I think that the systems that we have built in this country over decades have their roots in inequality, and I think some of that is really intentional. If you've ever read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, it talks all about how our penal system really was developed after the Jim Crow era, when all of those laws were kind of dismantled. There was still a lot of interest in keeping down certain communities. And so the penal system grew really as an extension of, the Jim Crow era. A lot of police forces in this country have their roots in protecting property and protecting white communities from non-white communities. That's the root of it. And in so many cases, we haven't really addressed it.
You had a difficult upbringing. And you mentioned that there were mentors around you, there were additional help that helped you become who you are today, a very well-educated, inspirational woman. So you are an example, the example that we want to see in the world. Many people didn't make it, but you did. In generally speaking, what has been the secret of your success?
Oh, it's again, I go back to mentors and mentors. I think I've been fortunate to have really important mentors in my life, and that goes back to right when I was a child. I had after school counselors and teachers who really took me in and loved me. In high school, I spent a lot of time around the language department. I told you I'm really interested in communications and language. And so those instructors, those teachers became real mentors to me. When I graduated college, I found a really strong woman mentor who helped me launch my career in the nonprofit sector. So I think building your network in a way that's not transactional, but that is really rooted in relationships and mutual support for each other, I think is really how I've gotten here. I also, I say yes a lot. So I remember being like a junior. Actually, to be honest, when I worked at Read Alliance, I started out in the program department. I was helping to deliver programs. And one day the executive director tapped me on the shoulder and said, "We need somebody on the development team. Do you want to be in development?" And I sort of had no idea what development was. I literally had to like Google, what does the development department do? I have no idea. But I said yes, and I took that risk. And I found the thing that I thrive in. And so I think it's, I was maybe young and dumb to jump into a career that I knew nothing about, but it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah, so I would say take some risks, and then while also keeping your work-life balance, I would say also take on new projects and take on new challenges, and when opportunities are offered to you in the workplace, say yes, but in a way that also helps you retain some sanity. So.
Yeah, so it seems like that's what you have done. What other advice would you give to young women who might not have a perfect upbringing, might be struggling, maybe anywhere in the world? Like, what is your advice to women out there, the younger women who have all their life in front of them? What would you say to them?
I would say that we need them. We need women. We need strong, powerful, active women. I think when women get involved, good things happen. And so I think it's stay engaged and know that you're needed. And then I also think have patience. I see lots of young women in my career who, just out of college, jump into these kinds of careers, and then in a minute are, well, where's my next job? What's my next thing? So I think it's, we urgently need to fight these battles together, but also have some patience in our own growth and in our own lives, and learn, make sure that we're taking the time to learn as we grow. So.
Excellent. Well, it was so great to have you, Irene, here today. You're such an inspiration to the girls and women out there. Thank you so much for being in our show, and keep on shining, keep on making this world a better place.
Thank you so much for taking the time to highlight women across our city who are doing good work, and so nice to chat with you. And thank you, Facebook land.
Have a good one, darling.
Thank you. You too. Take care.